An overhaul of debt collection rules appears to be heading our way. What will it look like? That's today on Risk Watch. Welcome to Risk Watch. I'm Taylor Reich. If the CFPB gets its way, new protections in the debt collection market would limit the contact collectors may have with consumers and impose more stringent requirements designed to reduce the number of complaints the CFPB receives from consumers. Today we have AffirmX analyst Rachel Osborne here to introduce the suggested changes. Rachel?
Thanks, Taylor. Debt collection generates more complaints to the CFPB than any other financial service or product. The most common complaints the CFPB receives report that collectors are either contacting the wrong consumer, trying to collect the wrong amount of debt, or trying to collect for debts that cannot be legally enforced. The problem, according to the CFPB, stems from information getting lost or altered when debts are transferred to collection agencies or debt buyers. It argues that these problems don't only hurt consumers, they also drive up costs for collectors and hurt the industry as a whole. On July 28, 2016, the Bureau proposed an overhaul to the debt collection process that seeks to increase oversight from the first time a collector looks at a delinquent loan to the last time he or she attempts to collect on the debt. The 1977 Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA, made progress in preventing unfair or abusive debt collection practices, but until the creation of the CFPB, no government agency has had the authority to issue regulations to implement the act. And that is precisely what the CFPB is hoping to do. I want to discuss three key parts of the proposal that could affect your financial institution. First, in its outline about the proposed changes, the CFPB pointed out that the FDCPA covers debt collectors who are collecting debt owed to a third party, not collectors who are collecting debt owed directly to them. Dodd-Frank expanded that coverage to some collectors who collect their own debts, but from the get-go, the CFPB makes it clear that their rule changes would apply to everyone who collects debt from consumers: collection agencies, debt buyers, collection law firms, and loan servicers, including both large firms with over 100 employees and small 20-person shops. The various trade associations are analyzing the provisions of the proposal to see how they will affect financial institutions specifically. But if your financial institution handles any debt collection in-house, the rule will apply to you. If not, it's still prudent to be aware of the changes so you can make sure your collection agency isn't incorrectly approaching your customers or members on your behalf. Second, as I mentioned before, the proposal comes in response to the large numbers of complaints consumers have made about collectors trying to collect from the wrong consumer or for the wrong amount. The CFPB has several ideas on how to answer these complaints. For example, it proposes to impose mandatory steps collectors must take to substantiate the debts they are trying to collect. It proposes to revamp disclosures surrounding litigation, consumer rights, and old debts. It's proposing strict rules limiting phone calls and phone messages from collectors. It wants to create mechanisms that would aid consumers in disputing their debt. And it is proposing changes to credit reporting requirements. The goal is to make the whole process more accurate and transparent for both debt collectors and debtors. Each requirement is detailed in the full text of the CFPB's published proposal outline. The last thing I want to highlight about the proposal is the section on the cost of credit to small entities. The CFPB acknowledges that it is required to consult with small entities regarding the potential impact of the proposal on the cost of credit. Furthermore, the CFPB states that the rule would apply to personal loans, not business loans, and would not, they believe, have a large enough impact to adversely affect the cost of consumer credit. So, the CFPB concludes that the changes would not negatively impact the cost of the availability of credit products for consumers. If you disagree, you may want to raise your objections during the public comment period, which is scheduled to run through October 18, 2016. It's also prudent to examine your credit collection practices and make sure that they are in compliance with any potential regulatory changes.
Thanks, Rachel. To learn more about the CFPB's debt collection overhaul or to contact Rachel, please visit riskinbox.com/resources. I'm Taylor Reich for Risk Watch. Thanks for watching.